On today's episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show, we're going to be talking about Amon Thompson and Cam Whitmore, how they've been looking as rookies, and our thoughts on them as a whole. So you're not going to want to miss this episode, so stay tuned.
All right, you heard it on the intro. Today we're going to be talking about Amin Thompson and Cam Whitmore. We are officially at the halfway point of the Houston Rockets 2023-2024 NBA season. So we have about 41 games. They obviously haven't played every game of the 41, but we have roughly about 41 games of sample size of them, not just in the NBA. Cam, when we saw him in the G League a little bit, so we have a little bit of a nice little sample size to talk about the Houston Rockets draft class this year. But I want to start out with Amin, the first of the two picks this year. Brad, what are your thoughts on Amin Thompson so far this season? Like I said, we're at the halfway point. He just had his first NBA start. He missed some time with injury and illness. So, what are your whole
Right.
thoughts on where Amin is right now and just kind of where you see him headed?
Yeah, just like from start to finish, beginning of the year. Well, first off, rookie guards, when they come in, it's always going to be a little tough for them. Look at Scoot Henderson right now, having a tough time adjusting. But Amen, the whole thing with him, coming out, we understood, hey, he's a pathway to becoming an elite defender, obviously with a 6'7" frame and a 7-foot wingspan. Gonna be a really good defender. The playmaking obviously going to be elite. So that's what I'm looking for, when I watch him play. So he's been getting accustomed to. He's been looking a lot better. First start last game had 15 points, 14 boards, and 5 assists. Youngest player to ever even put up a stat line like that. So when I look at him play now, it's obvious how good he can be. And I saw it, and I know I mentioned it previously on a different podcast we had, but you can just look at the game he had in the G League. I know it's the G League, but what he did was transferable to the NBA. He had 29, like 16, 11 or something like that.
I have to
And
go watch those highlights again. I forgot all about that.
yeah, you could go back and watch him and you could see, oh, this stuff is some stuff he can do in the league. And it's the same stuff he did in that game where he had 15, 14, and 5. Very scrappy defender. He can guard any position. He was switching on to Porzingis and was able to stop him in the post. He could switch on to guys like Tatum and Jaylen Brown. That's what, if you could get a point guard doing stuff like that, how versatile your defense can become. So that's why I really enjoyed seeing him start. Because that's where we're going to be at. Maybe not next year, but obviously the year after. Almon's going to be in that starting lineup, and I really enjoy it because right now, what's most important is Alperen Sengun. He's going to be the focal point of this Rockets team. He has the keys right now, and most importantly, Amon Thompson looks good next to Alperen Sengun. He puts pressure on the rim. He's able to kick it back out to LP, who's just coming in with that little floater. And vice versa. Even LP, he has he's good with cutters. Almon's extremely athletic, can cut. Sengun gonna find him. We saw it a few times last night in that Boston game. So what I'm seeing from Amon, I really like. People were worried at first because he had a slow start, wasn't getting a lot of minutes, and you hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, Star Thompson is better." Star Thompson had an opportunity. He's coming in on a Pistons team that's won 4 games up until this point. He was just getting minutes on a bad team, and of course, I think Asar's going to be amazing as well. But Ahmed just wasn't getting that same opportunity on this Rockets team. But now that he is, we're going to see him play a lot better, in my personal opinion. Not that he was playing poorly before. Like I said, it takes time to get acclimated to the NBA. But yeah, we're going to start seeing those flashes and those consistent numbers that I think that we're all looking for. Yeah, I love what.
I'll say, what are some things that you want to see him in work on, to kind of, I guess, not solidify himself in the rotation, because I think he's already done that, but to maybe earn himself some more minutes in the rotation?
So obviously, the number one answer is going to be shooting, right? The 3-pointer's not there. We thought so early on, like Ben Sullivan was doing his magic. No, he's not. Almond right now, 18% on catch and shoot threes. He's in there working every single day. I admire that, but right now it's just not there. So I'm hoping he can get that together. It's not the work. He's putting it in. He's just got to pull it together. So obviously, if he's able to shoot at a high rate, then he's going to be in that lineup. But I won't even, focus too much on shooting. I'll say another thing he can work on, just being more aggressive. And that's what has made him look a lot better offensively. There was times where he would get the ball, just kind of just dribble stationary, try to make a move. Not really an aggressive move, but he wasn't really putting pressure on the rim. And then he would just kick it back out to Aaron Holiday. And that's probably why we saw Aaron Holiday take a lot of reps early on in their time on the floor together. Aaron being the vet knew more so what he was doing with the Rock. So Ahmed now, he's got some games under his belt. He looks a lot more aggressive when he has it. So that's one thing I believe is going to get him a ton of minutes.
Yeah, I mean, y'all know that Amin was the guy that I wanted us to draft from the jump. I haven't been too secretive. He's probably my favorite player on the team right now. Um, and a lot of people were saying, I saw a lot of people in my mentions on the TL saying like, oh, I mean, and he is raw, but people were saying it almost in like the sense of he was like a Usman Garuba level raw, where it's like this guy really isn't playable right now. Or I saw people saying he like needs some more time in the G League, and I'm like, what are y'all watching that's like giving you this that's your takeaway that he needs to go to the G League? Because I understand that his jumper isn't there, but did anyone think that it was going to be like, best case scenario, he was like close to respectable. Like that was like best case scenario year one. But we all knew his jumper was gonna be a work in progress. So if like the reason that you were a little down or discouraged by him was because he couldn't shoot, well, I mean, like we knew that already, right? That was not going to be his strong suit year one. We all know what Ben Sullivan can bring to the table, and what player who has the work ethic that a man has. We're not really concerned with his jumper, at least not yet. Like we're a very long way from being concerned. But in his limited minutes, because mind you, he started the season, got hurt. I believe it was game 4 of the season
Right.
where he got hurt. Yeah, and then he missed some time with that grade 2 ankle sprain. Came back, tried to give it a go, got sick. They gave my bro the bubonic plague or something because he was out for like 2 weeks with some unnamed illness. And I was at the game where he first made his return to the lineup. And bro, were you there at that game? I don't know if you was there at that.
Which game was it?
He was. I don't remember, but I remember he was coughing up a storm on the.
Oh
like,
yeah,
in
he
the
tried to
warm-up.
come back a game early,
Yeah,
coughing like me today. I'm sick with the show, but
he was,
yeah.
he was caught, and I was like, man, my guy is not okay. Like he's playing tonight. He's getting up and down the court. He's not okay because he was out there like huffing and puffing the whole night. So he had a little rough go when he first came back from injury and illness because I think he was still kind of battling some things. But ever since I think the illness is kind of for the most part subsided. And he's now kind of getting to that point in time where he's looking a lot more comfortable out there. That was the biggest thing that I kept trying to stress for men was that he needs to get to a place of comfort. It looked like somebody who was in their first couple of games in the NBA where they were not trying to step on nobody's foot or trying to figure out their place in the league. They weren't necessarily sure of the capabilities on an NBA court just yet. And I think now we're starting to see a man turn that corner to where he does know what he brings to the table. He is a little bit more assertive. I agree with Brad a lot. I want to see him be more aggressive. I think that he's still, and I mean, to a degree, he'll probably never be this guy because Amin is a very much like team first oriented kind of guy. So I don't think he's ever going to be the guy who's just like, give me the ball and get out the way. But I do want to see him be a little bit more like, I'm going to put my head to the rim. And I'm not looking to pass. I'm looking to like dunk on somebody. You know what I'm saying? I want to see him get more of that scores mentality. Keep pulling the mid range. I don't know what his midi is right now, baby. I can pull that up. But I know it's on
pulling
very.
it up before you even said it. I'm pulling it up.
I know it was on very low volume, but it's a pretty decent number. It is 3-point shot. Same thing there. It's obviously not good just yet, but I want to see him keep pulling them with confidence. Even if you're not making them, just shoot them. So yeah, I've been really encouraged with that aspect of him. But the biggest thing and the biggest reason why I'm perplexed when people say that Amin is like someone even on like bust trajectory. Like I've seen people say that. The reason why I'm so confused is because there's more to basketball than just shooting the three, right? He's a great defender right now, which if you know anything about rookies, let alone rookie point guards, that's not normal, right? Rookies don't come into the league day one and are like, not only is he a positive, I would describe him like no exaggeration. Dylan, Tari, Bari, it might be a man. Brad, who after that, who maybe Tate? Is it? I mean, maybe that says more about the team. I said Dylan, Bari, Tari.
I put
after
Bari's
those three.
he been kind of hooping right there.
Yes, I'm saying. So after those three defensively, who would you say is the fourth best defender on this team?
I mean, the conversation is.
I think it might be a man. No, it's out of him and Tate, and I think the size on Tate's probably a bit more disciplined because he's been in the league a little bit longer. But I think Amin's size and athleticism give him a bit more of an advantage.
And
so I mean,
to that point, I mean, you can see Jason Tate, really good defender, but he just can't guard certain people. Like when he was switching on to Porzingis, I mean, bro got 10 inches on him. Like he could do what he can, but I mean, the size is a difference maker. So when you say Amin, I personally agree, just because he's able to match up with certain people a lot better. So awareness wise,
And,
you can give the tape, but right now I'm in probably just a better one at the moment.
And I mean, maybe you could argue that says more about the roster construction than it does about Amin, but like just in general, that's not normal. Rookies do not come into the NBA and not only are just not like negatives but neutrals, but he's a legit positive on that end already. And even crazier, rookie point guards you don't do that, right? Like Brad touched on, we saw him this past weekend against, it was the Celtics, and who was the team we played before this? It was the
Knicks,
the Jazz, right?
Jazz.
It was the Jazz. It was the Jazz and the Celtics, right? I thought Amin Thompson played phenomenal, like elite defense in both those games. As a matter of fact, he made we didn't even talk about it. He made 2 game defining plays on the defensive end to end that game. He made the defensive rotation. He was covering 2 different guys, made a perfect flawless rotation to force a bad shot, force us to go to overtime. And then he made a game saving block in overtime. And this is once again as a point guard. He came over weak side and blocked, I think it was Colin Sexton.
Yes, it was Colin.
And that was a game because if Sexton makes that, I believe we go down 1, and now we got to get a bucket on the other end. So like that was one of the moments that like kind of sealed that game for us. And that once again, that's a rookie. Then he came out the very next night in his first start, and there was possessions. Brad posted it where he was guarding Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kristaps Porzingis, and obviously like those are great players. So like you're not going to be able to stop them all the time, but he was putting up a really good fight on all 3 players. And those are 3 very different guys. Even though, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are very similar, they're still very different. And Kristaps Porzingis is a big, right? Once again, how many rookie point guards are able to match up with Kristaps Porzingis and force him into uncomfortable shots? It's not many of those kind of guys. And then the court vision is 100% there already. Like I boldly make the claim. I think that he's at worst the second best playmaker on this team right now. I know it's going to come up obviously like offensive to like the Fred VanVleet fans out there. I think he's better than Fred. I think the only guy who has an argument for a better playmaker than him is Alperen Sengun. And there was a play I tweeted it out from that Boston game where he caught the ball, drove from the left side of the court, jumped in the air, and relocated and passed the ball to Dillon Brooks like midair. Bro, go find that clip. There's not that many guys in the NBA who can throw that pass. Dillon Brooks didn't even know he was wide open. Like if you watch the clip, Dillon Brooks is like almost like moving because he's like, I'm not getting the ball here. And he's like, oh, wait, the ball's in my hands now. There's like that's a special kind of pass, bro. There's not many guys who are capable of seeing that pass and then actually making it. Like I think there's only 2 guys on the team who can make that pass. It's Amin Thompson and Alperen Sengun. So that leads me to my last point that I wanna land on. We talk about roster construction, and I agree with that 100%. It should be with Alperen Sengun in mind. Like I think that is definitely the direction of the team. He's the best player on our team right now. 21 years old. I think he's earned the right to, at the very least, like we're gonna factor in maximizing him into building this roster. I think that Amin Thompson does that right now. He's not gonna be the Jamal Murray to his Jokic in the sense of like Amin's out there dropping 30 bombs, and shooting 40% from 3. That's probably not going to be him. But when you talk about and it's kind of segues to the next topic. When we talk about the kind of guys that you want to surround Alperen Sengun with, the archetype is lengthy defenders who can space the floor and play finish. Right now, Amin can't necessarily space the floor, but that's what the 2 through 4 are for. But Amin is a lengthy defender who can play finish, who can cut off a Sengun. We saw that a lot in the Celtics game where they were working the 2-man game. It was Amin finding Sengun and then Sengun finding Amin. And that chemistry is going to get better the longer they play together, the more reps they get. And then Sengun doesn't have to worry about having to protect the rim as much because Amin is not letting his defender just blow right by him all night. This saying a lot of interior defense is relying upon a good perimeter defense, and Amin Thompson's going to be one of the guys out there who's making sure Alperen Sengun isn't getting bullied on at the rim all the time. So I think it's a match made in heaven. I think the only thing Amin needs to work on, like Brad said, is obviously the jumper. I think his handle, he needs to tighten up a little bit more. And then I agree with Brad, the confidence thing. But other than that, man, like I said, I can talk all day about him, and I think he's been really good so far.
Last thing we talked about earlier, we talked about the midi, 37.5%. Obviously not elite, but that's good for Armin. The step back.
I'm sorry, what's the number?
37.5%, which isn't bad. That's pretty good for him. Rookie year. I like that he's able to pull up, hit the midi or hit some step backs. Those are things that you want to.
And he seems comfortable with
He
that
does.
shot. He doesn't take
Yeah.
it that much. When he does, he seems comfortable with it,
Yeah.
which is we talked about it over the summer. The thing that's really going to lock his game when he's trying to develop that jumper is that in between game. If he can get like a floater or a midi down, so if he's able to do that, you know, what I'm saying, we saw Şengün has kind of already did that. That's one thing that's kind of unlocked him this year is he's added that little push shot, the dirt fade, like. Those are things that Şengün's kind of done to eliminate the fact that he's not the world's best jump shooter, and we see it's working for him. So if Amin can find his own version of that while we wait for him to develop his jumper, I think it's going to be money.
100%. All right, we segueing into Cam.
All right. We can go to Cam, right? And I kind of segued it because I think that we talked about guys you want to surround Alperen Şengün with the lengthy defenders who can space and play finish. I think that is like the most apt description of Cam Whitmore there is. I mean, Cam isn't. I guess he's not necessarily the world's best defender right now, but I think he has all he has the size, the skill set, the intangibles to become a good defender on that end. And obviously, we know what he can do in terms of scoring the basketball and play finishing. So, Brad, I'll let you go first on this one again. What are your thoughts on Cam Whitmore? Like so we have a little bit of him in the G League we can talk about. You know, now he's got it. I think was that also his first start last game as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he also got his first start. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Cam Whitmore up until right now?
Yeah, so Cam, leading scorer in the G League while he was down there, came up, and Cam, he said it in a recent Fagan article. You know, he's blessed to have this opportunity to be in the league right now. He's not going to take it for granted, and that's what we've been seeing from Cam. Every time he touches the floor, he's going out there putting up a consistent 10, and his shooting has been lights out. That's what's most important. This Rockets team has been missing spacing. Again, next to Alperen Şengün, that's what's needed. You know, he got the ball in the post. He's going to get double teamed. People got knocked down the threes. But even when he's not with Şengün, he's knocking him down every time he gets it, whether it's catch and shoot or it's a sidestep or a step back. Cam's been knocking it down. 48% right now on catch and shoot, above 40 on normal jumpers, I believe.
I'm sorry. What's the volume on that? It's probably low, but what's the volume?
I'll pull it up right now for y'all. But if as a rookie, it's 1.7 attempts per game. You can check on my Twitter feed. I think,
and that's for his little minutes he's getting. That's pretty.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what's most important for Cam. Now, I mean, we all knew he could score. I'll take it back. That's not what's most important. He would have been in a long time ago if that was what's most important. Udoka's been looking for him to look a lot better on defensive rotations. You can watch him earlier on in the year. He would get lost a lot off ball. You know, guys going back, back cutting, just sticking with people. He just wasn't the best at it. You know, leaving guys wide open from three, not knowing where he's supposed to be. All those things are improving. You know, offensively. You know, the one flaw is, of course, the vision. You know, he's just tunnel vision. He has his mindset, I'm going to score. And sometimes he just doesn't care who's wide open. I forget which game it was, but he took a step back. Fred was wide open on the perimeter.
It was the Bulls game.
And then Fred got his hands in the air. Şengün pointed, Fred. And Cam took the step back. But, you know, outside of that, you know, he's 19 years old. So those are issues that I can live with because the production is so good. You have to play him. You have to give him the opportunity to get buckets and help this team win. And he's done that on a few occasions. So I'm happy he's finally getting the minutes to showcase what he can do. You know, in his first start, didn't do the best. I want to say he shot 1 for 7, Will. And
he was a little rough.
And that doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. For me, with Cam, I just want to see him go out there, get the opportunity because I know he's going to score. Again, he's 19 years old. He's not going to look perfect every single game, but he's definitely flashed some potential. What was he?
2 for 7.
2 for 7. My fault, Cam.
Yeah, and he was 1 of 4 from 3. He missed his 2 free throws.
Yeah. So not worried about the scoring at all with him. You know, gifted. You know, getting to the rim. He's a bully. He's able to move people out the way. At one point, he was shooting over 80% in the restricted area. I have to look again. And again, powerful finisher. You know, dunking wise. You know, has some finesse around the rim. Add that with the 3-pointer, like, sky's the limit for this kid. And I can't believe the Rockets still got him at 20. I said it in June, I'll say it in January. Yeah, that's where we are now. So again, if that defense, you know, comes together, it's been looking a lot better. You can rack up a ton of steals, has a good frame, 6'9" wingspan, 6'7" as it is. You know, Cam, I really like what I'm seeing from him. So hope those minutes continue to increase. I'm interested to see what we do at the deadline and when everybody's back healthy. I want to see where he inserts himself into the lineup because Udoka has said he's not going back to the G League. You know, led the league in scoring over there. He's too good for that. He's going to stay on his roster. But again, we haven't really seen him play minutes on this team when they're fully healthy. That hasn't happened yet. So when we get, you know, Tari back, Jabari's coming back now, And even Jeff Greenback. I want to see where Cam inserts himself. But I'm really impressed with him. Again, 5th youngest player in the NBA, balling right now. So I can't be mad at him at all.
Yeah, I mean, and you talked about the G League. I agree 100%. Excuse me. I said, I don't know if I said it on this podcast, but I know I said it in a space. I don't think that there's nothing that Cam Whitmore can get out of the G League anymore. I think we crossed that threshold where it's like he's been there, he's dominated. It's like he's not sending Cam Whitmore down there to average 30 is not doing nothing for Cam Whitmore, right? I think that the issues, the problems that prevented Cam Whitmore from getting rotation minutes earlier have nothing to do with his ability to score the basketball. We all know Cam Whitmore is a bucket. Like that's never going to be the question with him. He can score the basketball, even though he was 2 of 7 in his first career start. Like Brad said, that doesn't move me. We know that guy is going to be special when it comes to scoring the basketball. That's not the problem. The problem is what Brad touched on. It is the IQ concerns, right? And that's why, I guess people really didn't. I want to say people didn't like it, but it was a little bit of a conversation when I said that I think that, despite the fact that on paper he seems to be ahead of Jalen Green at that age, right? In terms, at least in terms of scoring, I'm still not ready to give him the starting shooting guard spot full time over Jalen, because I think that, for as much as Jalen Green struggles, I don't have to worry about him shooting us out of a game, or he won't make a pass that, what I'm saying? Like the play that Brad's talking about, which if you haven't seen it, it's so funny. Cam is taking like this step back 3 on the left wing, and there's no one on the right side of the court. Fred is naked, wide open. I don't know what he's shooting on catch and shoot from 3 this year.
Fred is shooting 40.
I'd imagine
Fred's shooting 42.5% catch and shoot.
Yeah, so I figured it was probably pretty good, right? So it's a 42% catch and shoot play, which is like pretty much a coin toss. He's gonna make it. It's wide open. Shingun has his hands up, like he's right there giving the ball, and Tam takes this step back 3. And I think later on that same game, he like tries to dunk on like 4 guys and gets sent. And it's like, all right, Cam, like really back in a little bit. And he makes a play like that every now and then where you're like, all right, Cam, like even if you scored there, I was like, that really wasn't a good look. You know what I'm saying? Let's get a better one than that. And I think that's one of the reasons why he hasn't played as much, because Ime Udoka has stressed. Like that was one thing he stressed from the press conference off the rips. It's one thing he stressed when he got hired in Boston. He wants ball movement. He wants guys to swing the rock. He does not want it to just be ISO dribble all day, step back 3. Let's move the rock. Let's get a good look. And not saying that Cam is incapable of doing that. I think that Cam, he's coming from he's young. He's like what Brad said, and he's coming from a scenario where he's been the focal point of his team his entire career. He's used to having to just score buckets, and his team lives with that. So I think this is the first time where he's having to adjust to like, hey, there are other guys out here who are as good as or better than you. That you can spread the love. And so I think that to work on that, he needs to stay with the main team. I don't think the G League is going to do that. Is going to do that for him, because down there he is the focal point. It's kind of opposite of what we're trying to do. Now that being said, I think even with those IQ concerns, he over like the last 10, 15 games of him being in the rotation, I'd say he's been more positive than negative. Like I wouldn't. Yeah. I don't think that he's hurting us with that. And I think that if you surround him with guys like Fred VanVleet and Alperen Sengun, I think they can somewhat mitigate the IQ concerns a little bit. It's having 2 high IQ guys like that out there. And so, yeah, I hope that he does, I think he's earned a place in our rotation based upon his play when guys were out with injury. And so when everybody comes back, when Jeff Green's back, Jabari wasn't here last game, but when everybody comes back, I hope that he still has a role. As the CEO of the Jay Sean Tate fan club, I think that that's somebody who Cam Whitmore probably should play over. At least, I think we should at least experiment with it. I don't know necessarily say that he's better, but I'd be willing to experiment with the idea of Cam taking Tate's minutes in the rotation, and just seeing where it goes. I think that Cam has the potential to be the kind of guy where you give him 10, 15 minutes, and if his jumper is on that night, he's making shots, and off-ball defensive awareness is there. He's a guy who's like, all right, well, you're cooking tonight, so we're going to let you play 20, 25, 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Just finish the game out for us. And so, yeah, like one sad thing with the men, there obviously are some areas he needs to work on, but he's 19 years old, bro. Like, it's not the end of the world that he's not a perfect player at 19. He has all the time in the world to figure it out. I think if there's any coach in the world who can get him to figure it out, I think it's Ime Udoka. So like I said, I'm happy with where he's at right now, happy with his progress, and I hope that he continues to get an opportunity to show us who he is in the rotation.
I'll say one last thing because it is a topic on the Rocket side of things. People want Cam Whitmore to start right now as shooting guard. Jalen obviously struggling shooting the ball. So my thing with that is, yes, Cam is shooting a lot better catch and shoot wise. Actually, 18% better catch and shoot wise at the moment. So I understand it. But right now, and this isn't an episode about Jalen Green, but I'll quickly say he's not going to be getting benched anytime soon. So I feel like it's a dead topic to discuss. Udoka has said this. What's personally or what's more important is who closes the basketball game. So if Cam's playing better off the bench, he's going to close the game. So.
And we've seen that already. Yeah. We've seen Udoka has benched. Like, as a matter of fact, that was it the Jazz game? Which was Jazz? Yeah, it was the Jazz game because Fred didn't play against Celtics. When Fred fouled out of that Jazz game, remember Jalen wasn't even on the field, on the court. Jalen only came back because Fred fouled out. Udoka was closing the game with Cam Whitmore out there. So yeah, like Brad said, to me, it's not even important. It's not even as important who starts the game. It's who's out there finishing it. And like I said, I think Udoka has shown us time and time again, he's the kind of guy where he doesn't care where you're drafted, how much money you make, what you're doing. If you are contributing and you are doing what you're supposed to do to get on the court, he'll play you. And vice versa. If you're not, he won't play you, right? Like, that's what we ask for with the accountability stuff. So like Jalen Green was struggling against the Jazz. Cam Whitmore had it going. Cam Whitmore gets the closing minutes, and I think it's how it should be.
100% agree. That's all I had to say about Amon and Cam. I'm really impressed with both of them. This year, drafted two really good rookies. Rockets right now, I want to say 21 and 22, if I'm not mistaken. And I can't be mad at that. That they're mixing in vets with the young guys. And Amon and Cam, I think they have a really good, future with this team. So that's all I have to say about them.
I guess the last thing I'll say, just talking about the fit with Alperen Sengun, I really think that I said it once again. I don't know if I said it on this podcast, but I know I've said it in spaces on the TL. We didn't do this on purpose. We drafted BPA every draft, but it's kind of crazy how if you look at everybody we drafted, all of them fit together like a glove. Like it's kind of like it's crazy how much they are designed in a lab to play together. And I think that. Like how Alperen Sengun, Jabari Smith-Tyrese, and those are guys who are perfect for each other. I think Cam Whitmore is in that same mode. I think Amin Thompson in that same mode. I can see a world where I don't know if Cam Whitmore is ever going to be a pick and roll ball handler with Alperen Sengun, but I could definitely see him being the kind of guy where he's coming off DHOs, cutting. Alperen is finding him, spotting up. Like I could really see Alperen Sengun making him a 25, maybe even 27 point per game scorer in one day. Like I could very easily see that happening. And that's the kind of guy who, like, when you had that threat of Cam Whitmore on the perimeter, that threat of Alperen Sengun on the interior, it's going to be kind of hard to, contain guys like that. Then you got Amin Thompson, Jabari, and Tari kind of short of the defense, and Min with the playmaking, Sengun with the playmaking. Like, it all kind of fits together like a glove. And, we're going to talk about Jalen Green probably the next episode and where he would kind of fit into this picture. But, it's kind of crazy how it wasn't intentional. We did not, I don't believe for a second that Raphael Stone predicted, when he drafted Sengun, that he was going to get Jabari Smith the next draft. But it's kind of crazy how they all fit together. And I think they all cover each other's weaknesses and complement each other's strengths. And it's really interesting. So I'm excited for the future of the Houston Rockets. I think Amin Thompson and Cam Whitmore are going to be perfect for this young core moving forward. But that's all I have to say, Brad. Anything else you want to add, or we can kind of wrap it up?
Yeah, they do all really fit together perfectly, in my opinion. If I'm a shot, a lot better for the field, then that's the perfect fit.
Yeah,
but even then,
that's the only thing.
That's the only thing. Even then, oh man, we saw in the last game against the Celtics how much him and Sengun work well together. So it's gonna be a fun fit. Like you said, well, I'm just excited for it. So that's all I got for the episode. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in. We'll be back soon to talk about Jalen Green in the next episode. So y'all look out for that. But peace out.